The date. Lorenzo looked at his watch and sighed. Once again, he was left stranded at a restaurant waiting for a girl. Last week it was Fiona. The week before it was a foiled date with Susan. And this week it was a no-show from Latoya, another stand-up. He was hopeless. His best friend Richard told him that he had his sights set on the wrong kind of woman. He said he needed to focus on other girls, like Vivienne, who was the purchasing manager in his company, who was extremely attracted to him. Everyone knew it, but he did not want a Vivienne. He wanted a Fiona, with her cultured accent and big bank balance. She drove her own car, and her idea of relaxation was taking a cruise or a weekend trip to Miami. Vivienne was essentially the type of girl that he grew up with, and since he escaped the inner city, he wanted his new uptown lifestyle to reflect the change. He owned a computer business and was doing well. The time had come for him to have an uptown girl dangling on his arms, sort of like a trophy. That would be his sign that he had moved away from Tivoli and ghetto living. Not even his 3-bedroom New Kingston townhouse could accomplish this feat. He needed real confirmation. He left the Flaming Walk, one of the most expensive restaurants in Kingston, with a new resolve. He was going to get an uptown girl. After all, how hard could it be? He had what it takes. He just had to remove the gold teeth. Many persons had mistaken him for a drug dealer because of the gold teeth. Probably the problem with him was his image. He still looked like a ghetto man. He just had to change that. A few days later, Lorenzo visited his friend Richard at his Hope Road apartment. "What's wrong with me?" Lorenzo asked, as he flopped down on Richard's overstuffed chair. "I took out the gold teeth. I'm even talking proper, yet the girls avoid me like the plague." Richard started laughing. "It's not your physical appearance that's the problem, it's your approach. I have seen you around girls. You look hungry, almost desperate. Back in the ghetto, you were not like that, man. Your problem is that you turn off women with your eagerness." "So what do I do? Should I act like I don't like them?" "No, man. You have to be natural. The number one dating rule, give them a chance to breathe, to express themselves. Ladies don't like to constantly hear about you. They like to talk about themselves." Lorenzo nodded, his face pensive. "Okay, here's what I'm going to do for you. Do you remember my ex-girlfriend Dahlia? Wasn't she a go-go or something?" "Yes, but she prefers that you say exotic dancing. She had a friend named Pauline that she claims has a positive influence on her. I'm going to arrange for you to go out with her so you can try out your charms then." No, what do you take me for? I will not have you arranging dates for me with women of questionable character," Lorenzo said, turning on the television. "She's not of questionable character. I said her friend was an exotic dancer, not her. And besides, she is one of those Beverly Hills types that you hunger for." Lorenzo turned on the television, switched to cricket, and bent closer to watch. "I'm not listening." He turned up the volume higher and tuned out Richard. "She's very good looking in a girl next door kind of way," Richard shouted above the noise. "Why don't you turn off the television? West Indies is losing anyway." Lorenzo turned down the television, his face screwed up in consternation. "What does she do?" "She is unemployed," Richard mumbled. "What?" Lorenzo jumped from the settee. "She does not even have a job?" "Give the girl a chance," Richard said, frustrated. "She might even surprise you." Okay, but this is only as practice for the real thing." Richard nodded, grinning. "I'll just tell Pauline that you are asking her for a date on Saturday night. Is that okay with you?" "Yeah, sure. It's not as if I have anything else to do." During the week, Lorenzo tried many times to terminate the date, but Saturday night came all too soon. He made arrangements to meet Pauline at the Flaming Walk in New Kingston. He was supposed to identify her by what she wore. She said that she would wear a blue top and a black bottom. He had gone all out and got a new suit, a haircut, and a shave. He wanted to make a good impression, even though he did not think that it was worth it. At 7:30, he saw a beautiful girl poised at the lobby in a navy blue blouse and black pants. He started to laugh inwardly. Richard played him for a fool once more. Pauline looked like his ideal woman. Businesslike, mature, and cultured. Wow! He was just about to step up to her and introduce himself when she waved to someone in the restaurant and headed off in another direction. Obviously, that was not Pauline, he sighed. Feeling disappointed and flustered, he turned to look at some paintings in the lobby when he heard a cough behind him. He spun around and had to blink twice. Standing before him was a creature in a baby blue halter top and black tights. Her hair was baby blue and her lipstick black. She had in huge P-shaped earrings. Oh no, this was Pauline? Is your name Lorenzo? The creature asked. Her numerous bangles and chains were jiggling as she fixed her huge wig in the glass behind the receptionist. Lorenzo was stumped. What could he say? No, I am not Lorenzo, and quietly slip out of the restaurant with his dignity intact? Or yes, and subject himself to further embarrassment? Yes, he mumbled, hanging his head. Oh, and the girl grinned. Black lipstick smeared across her front teeth. Is me name Pauline? She grabbed Lorenzo's hand and shook it vigorously. You not hungry? She asked loudly as patrons and restaurant workers openly stared at her. Not really, Lorenzo said, embarrassment rolling over him in waves. Where una look pan? She asked the curious receptionist and the people who were looking at her aghast. Come on, Lorenzo, she said loudly, heading toward the interior of the restaurant. You might not hungry, but me a starve is the first me I go eat in a fancy restaurant. She sauntered away from Lorenzo, her high platform shoes making a stomping sound as she moved through the lobby. Lorenzo hurriedly followed her, his brain working fast. How could he escape, or should he stick with the date and then shoot himself later? Somehow, he found himself walking quickly to reach the creature in blue. He was definitely not in a good mood. The receptionist showed them to a table in the center of the restaurant. Lorenzo had never been more embarrassed as he heard little snickers and the occasional choking sound as Pauline strolled through the near-crowded restaurant. The look on the host's face indicated that he could not wait to be alone to laugh long and loud at the couple he was seating. Lorenzo went around to Pauline's chair to seat her properly. She looked at him curiously. Oh, is Ron here so you want to sit down? She then moved to the other side of the table and seated herself. Lorenzo sighed and sat down. This was obviously going to be a very long evening. A waiter approached the table bearing menus. My name is Boris and I'm your waiter for the evening, he said as he poured water into the glasses. Let us start with the horse overs, Pauline said. Is what make them something, yeah? Horse meat? You mean hors d'oeuvres? Boris asked politely. This is what we call the appetizer, he hurriedly added when he saw her stormy expression. Whatever. Snickers could be heard coming from the table beside them. It was the girl in the blue blouse, the one he had mistaken for Pauline earlier, and her friends. They laughed and shook their heads in pity. Just a fruit salad will do, Lorenzo said to the waiter. He was determined not to spend a dime more than he had to. The waiter left and Lorenzo regarded Pauline silently. She was not ugly. As a matter of fact, she was good looking, had it not been for all that blue hair and makeup. So Pauline, he said, trying to inject some jocularity in his voice. Tell me a bit about you. Well, her long blue painted fingernails caressing the water glass. My hairdressing business mash up and me no have nothing to do now. Why did it fail? Lorenzo asked as he tried to look interested. He leaned forward a little and tried to look into her brown eyes. They were bright and intelligent. Such a pity. The poor girl doesn't know how to dress. Me dash too much cream in a Tanya head and the dry head gal go spread rumors so me make her hair drop off. She sounded angry and her voice kept rising. Everybody take with them business, she hissed her teeth. Lorenzo sat back as she got angrier and angrier. Even the people them with weave no come to me again. The restaurant was curiously silent as everyone looked on. Lorenzo sighed. He should have taken her to a fast food joint. This was not the right setting for her. Okay, Pauline, why don't you just calm down? Calm down, calm down, she practically shouted. My business mash up, me no have no man. My mother want to run me from her yard, and the big head gal Crystal thief me green wig Lorenzo. She sighed. My life not easy like yours. It's a lucky thing me no pay water or light bill because me wouldn't just drop down dead from hard life. The rest of the diners stopped pretending that they were eating and were openly staring and listening to her. Lorenzo did not touch his fruit salad and he closed his eyes to gather his thoughts. The waiter came to clear the dishes when he took up Lorenzo's salad to cart it away, along with Pauline's empty bowl. Put that down, Pauline snapped. If him no want it, me we eat it. Oh no wasteful in here, boy. She grabbed the bowl from the waiter and dug into the salad. Yes, Lorenzo, as me was saying, me got bills to pay and ting. Little specks of fruit salad flew from her mouth as she spoke. Lorenzo saw mango and papaya pulp on his menu cover. Are you ready to order the main course, sir? The waiter asked Lorenzo, totally ignoring Pauline. Bring me some curry chicken and white rice, said Pauline. And me a beg enough to put like a pepper in it. We call it chicken a la curry, said the waiter politely. Whatever. Make sure say a curry chicken you bring come. I'll have the chicken in Malay sauce, said Lorenzo. He was beginning to dread eating the main course with Pauline. Tell me about yourself, Lorenzo, said Pauline, belching loudly. You know, say fruit give you gas. Well, my name is actually Lorenzo, not Lorenzo. Pauline nodded, her blue wig moving back and forth with her head. I'm a simple guy with simple tastes. Me hear say your money man is true? Well, I am financially healthy, Lorenzo replied reluctantly. Hey! Pauline laughed and snorted. Financially healthy is first, may I hear that? Lorenzo watched her in amazement. Could one person be so ignorant and so outspoken with it? Mercifully, the main course came, and Pauline's mouth was otherwise engaged. After the meal, which he barely touched, she grabbed his plate and ate his portion too. Where do you put all that food? Lorenzo asked curiously, looking at her slim frame. Me exercise it off, said Pauline between forkfuls. My neighbor dog them always run me down when me enter the lane. Oh, Lorenzo said, nodding. After the meal, he was dying to leave. Pauline had curry on her teeth and spoke loudly and passionately about the merits of Burger King over the restaurant they were in. Look on the little bit of food, Lorenzo. After many of mine and yours, me still hungry. Would you like? Lorenzo was just about to ask her if she would like something else when Pauline started shouting, Boris! Boris, where him gone? You can't shout like that in the restaurant, Lorenzo whispered. You raise your hand like this. He raised his hand and demonstrated while everybody stared in general amusement and disbelief. Pauline started waving and yelling, Hey boy Boris, me want some lime a la sugar and water aka lemonade. You ever hear anybody serve curry without lemonade? She stopped shouting and started picking her teeth with a toothpick. Would you prefer to leave now? Lorenzo asked, itching to leave. He wanted to go home and never see or hear from Pauline again. As for Richard, he was going to kill him. This was the most unforgivable thing that could ever happen to him. Okay, said Pauline. You want my number so that we can do this again? Sure, said Lorenzo, knowing that he would never call her. He dropped her at a bus stop as she requested. According to her, there was a permanent police curfew in her neighborhood. He drove straight to Richard's house and gave him the tongue lashing of his life. I just had the worst date ever, he shouted in Richard's face as he opened the door. This date that you sent me on was the most embarrassing moment in my life. Richard stood at the door grinning until he could hardly contain himself. His body convulsed as rolling waves of laughter rocked him. Come inside and tell me about it, Richard managed to choke out. Never. I will never talk to you again, Lorenzo stomped off and yanked his tie from his neck on the way to his car. His weekend was hell. Every time he closed his eyes, Pauline's pea-shaped earrings and the curry on her teeth rose before him like a specter, and he felt embarrassed all over again. On Monday morning, he sat at his desk and stared morosely at the computer monitor. He was still steeped in his misery when his secretary told him that Pauline was outside to see him. He blanched and was about to make an excuse not to see her, but he decided that he did not want his employees to be exposed to her for long. Probably she was in a red wig or something outlandish. Why on earth did he give her his business address? Okay, he paused, as he ascertained whether his secretary had any trace of amusement in her voice. Send her in. He was still weighing the pros and cons of inviting her into his inner sanctum when a young lady in a business suit walked into his office smiling. Hi, Lorenzo. Where is Pauline? He asked, looking behind the beautiful young lady. She started laughing. I am Pauline. I came to apologize for Saturday night. Richard told me how angry you were. I wanted to apologize for my part in the fiasco. Lorenzo was speechless. Who are you really? He finally asked. I lecture at the university, and I'm also a cast member in the National Pantomime. Richard asked me to spice up our date a little. I must have gone overboard. You were definitely not the snob I expected, though. Can I make it up to you next Saturday night? I will be on my best behavior. How could he say no to the beauty that stood before him? Lorenzo readily agreed, and long after Pauline left, he sat bemused. Life certainly has its share of surprises. If you enjoyed this, like, comment, and subscribe. Check the description box for more stories and find my books on Amazon. See you in the next story.